But where it gets really wild is in what scholars call the rewritten Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls don't just offer one single alternative creation story. Instead, they reveal a whole spectrum of variations, rewrites, and brand new ideas. First, you have actual manuscripts of Genesis that show the text wasn't set in stone yet. While the Genesis fragments found at Qumran are very similar to the standard text, they contain small but significant variants. A different word choice here, an alternate spelling there. These tell us that different manuscript traditions of Genesis were circulating, and the Qumran community was preserving versions that were slightly different from the one that would later become the standard. But where it gets really wild is in what scholars call the rewritten Bible. These aren't just copies with minor typos. They are entirely new works that retell the Genesis story, often with blockbuster changes. The most famous is the Book of Jubilees. Copies of this book were found all over the Qumran caves, which tells us it was a bestseller for the community. Jubilees, sometimes called the Lesser Genesis, reframes the entire biblical narrative according to a strict solar calendar of 49-year cycles, or Jubilees. Creation isn't just a one-off event. It's the start of a divine timetable that the community had to follow perfectly. Jubilees also fills in the gaps. Remember in Genesis 1:26 when God says, "Let us make man in our image"? It's always been a bit ambiguous. Jubilees solves it. It explicitly says angels were created on day one, and God is speaking to his divine counsel. Problem solved. Then there's the Takar Genesis Apocryphon, an Aramaic scroll that's basically a first-person retelling of the lives of figures like Noah and Abraham. It adds new dialogue, inner thoughts, and motivations. For example, it gives Abraham a prophetic dream to justify his sketchy decision to tell the Egyptians that his wife Sarai was his sister. It's a change that completely reframes the ethics of the original story. But perhaps the biggest bombshell of all wasn't in a rewrite, but in a totally new theological framework. The community rule, a sort of handbook for the Qumran sect, introduces a radical idea you won't find in Genesis: cosmic dualism. In a section called the Treatise on the Two Spirits, the text explains that at the moment of creation, God made two opposing spirits to govern humanity: a prince of light and an angel of darkness. Every person lives under the rule of one or the other. History isn't just God's plan unfolding. It's an all-out war between light and darkness, truth and lies. This idea that good and evil were set in motion as opposing forces at creation is a massive departure from the vision of Genesis, where one God is the source of everything.